The reason for these Mindset Monday sessions is mindset is 80% of the trading game. But not only in trading, but in life, you really have to understand yourself, right? And you'll go through different trials and tribulations and different situations that will test you and challenge you. But if you have a mindset of growth, right? A growth mindset, then those challenges will be perceived differently than if you have a fixed mindset. And a growth mindset is you believe that what you are born with, the characteristics, the traits, the skills that you are born with, aren't the only things that you have the capacity for. You have the capacity to learn, grow, and develop into whoever it is that you desire to be, as long as you're willing to put in the time and the effort to do it. So, my goal with this mindset piece of our training is to help everyone develop that growth mindset, right? But not just the growth mindset. There's another piece to it, and that is to have the ability to think neutrally. And neutral thinking is removing emotion from a decision and being able to look at where you are and where you're going and make a decision that will take you one step closer towards whatever that goal, that desire is. And that takes some work. We're not all at a space where we can think neutral in every situation. And that's okay. Everybody's not there, right? And we're never going to be perfect. My definition of perfection is being 1% better every day. And if we can be 1% better every day, then we win. So that's my goal with this whole mindset piece. And it plays into trading because your personal life, your experiences will impact how you see the markets, how you analyze your charts, how you follow your rules, if you follow your rules during an emotional time in your life. So we want to make sure that we're in a space mentally where we can truly focus on our rules that we develop and follow those. And if we're at a time where we're going through some difficult things, have the ability to step away. And because we're not perfect, right? We're always going to be growing. We're always going to be learning. We're always going to be making adjustments. Being able to identify when you've made an error quicker than you did the day before, right? Or than you did the trade before. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. I'm Ryan Carthage. I'm part of the team with the Forex Trade Room. I have my awesome partners, Casey and Benny, who are absolutely phenomenal. If you have not met them yet, dive into the trainings, you'll get a chance to meet them. But my why. So I believe that we as a people, we as a culture can truly change the world if we help each other become our best self. So my purpose, my mission, my cause is to help each individual that I come in contact with realize and achieve their best self, whatever that means to them. Right? It's not about me. It's not about what I see in you. It's not what I think you can do, but whatever it is that you desire, whatever it is that you want to be, whatever it is that you see your best self as, my goal is to help you achieve that. And so everything that I do, these Mindset Mondays, every individual that I come in contact with, my goal is to be able to impact them in some way that allow them to take one step closer to becoming their best self. Right? That's my purpose, my mission, my cause in life. What I want you guys to think about today is writing yourself a statement. The words that we choose are extremely powerful, right? The words that we think, but also the words that we say. The words that we say are 10 times as powerful as the words that we think, right? So I want you guys to write a statement to yourself, starting with your why, right? What is it that you believe achieving your why will allow you and everybody that's connected to you to do, right? Like as I stated, my why, right? I believe that we as a community, we as a people can truly change the world if we help each other realize and achieve our best self, right? So start with your why. What is that you believe that achieving your why will help you and the people connected to you do? So start with I believe. The next piece of that is I want you to write down a 5-year goal that will be steps toward you achieving that end goal. Then the next piece of the statement. What are you willing to sacrifice? This piece is important. A lot of times we go into things and we think that it's going to be easy. We can just do it. It'll just get done, and we don't have to give of ourselves. But what you have to realize is that nothing worth having is free. You'll hear Benny say, everything that's worth having is uphill, right? There's going to be some sort of sacrifice that you have to make to achieve great things. It's not going to be easy. This trading space is not easy. It takes time, effort, and dedication. You can do it, but it's not going to be easy. You're not going to get rich overnight, right? So what is it that you're willing to sacrifice to achieve your purpose, your mission, your cause, right? I told you, your purpose, your mission, your cause, your why is going to be your anchor. And it has to be something bigger than yourself, right? Something greater than just you, something greater than just a monetary dollar amount. It has to be bigger than you, because once you achieve that, there's going to be something else that you desire to be. And if you have a finite ending, then you're going to feel like, dang, what's next, right? So if we start thinking now bigger, if we start thinking now larger and allow our mind to be our playground, we can have that vision already. We'll start with the end in mind. And what you're willing to sacrifice will be worth it because of that end desire. Is that great? The next piece of the statement is, when do you plan to attain that? I said 5 years, but if you want to set a specific time for you to attain whatever that next stage is, that next version of yourself, because you're always going to be evolving, whatever that goal is that you set, put your time frame on that. Put your time frame on it. Don't take my 5 years. What is your time frame? A date, specific date. Being specific in these things is extremely important. It gives your mind the ability and the opportunity to really run and start working for you. Because the way the brain works, the way the mind works is when you give it something, not the emotional part of it, but when you give it words, right? When you give it a task, it automatically starts working, right? To achieve whatever that thought, whatever that desire is. So us writing a specific plan gives our brain a direction, gives our mind a direction to go. Now, don't limit yourself, because again, the words that you choose are extremely important. The words that you speak are 10 times as powerful as the words that you think. Now, the next piece of that thinking and speaking piece, negativity is a multiple of 4 to 7 times as powerful as positivity. Negativity is 4 to 7 times as powerful as positivity. So speaking negative words, right? Speaking is 10 times as powerful as thinking. Negativity, 4 to 7 times more powerful than positivity. So speaking negative things impacts the likelihood of those things happening by 40 to 70%, right? There's many reasons to it, and it's not just some magical thing, but it's called a subconscious plant. The words that you speak ultimately are heard twice by your brain, right? From your outer ear and your inner ear. So that increases the strength of those words. So we don't want to limit ourselves and say, oh, well, I can't do that. Well, I don't think I'll achieve that. You're automatically limiting yourself, and you're stopping your ability to create, right? You're stopping your ability to create by speaking negativity out loud. We all have thoughts, and your thoughts are going to continue to run. I'm not saying just think positive. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is don't speak negative words to yourself. Don't limit yourself in these goals. Allow your mind to be the playground and let it run, right? So start with your why. I believe. I believe, I believe, I believe. What the goal is after you believe, what you're willing to give up to attain that, and when you plan to achieve it, right? This is going to be evolving. But this statement is extremely important for you to see. I want you guys to write this down, right? Write this statement to yourself. Be clear and specific. Write this statement to yourself. And I want you to read it every single morning when you wake up and before you go to bed. Because again, the words that you give yourself are extremely powerful. And it really gives your brain, your mind, a focused direction to go. Because your mind is your creative space, right? It's a creating machine. So giving this direction allows it to run, allows it to go, gives it a direction, right? But I want you guys to really, really think about and pay attention to the words that you choose to speak. You may have a negative thought. You may have a thought that puts you down, and that's totally fine. We all have them. Every single day, I have thousands of negative thoughts, but I choose not to speak them because the brain is going to take the words that you give it to take action on.
Ryan.
Yes.
I have a question.
Talk to me.
So do you have a practice? So let's just say a negative thought pops up, right? So we know we don't speak it out of our mouth, but is there something that you do when it happens? Like, is there something that you say internally to yourself, or do you replace it with a positive thought?
So here's the thing, right? I do, yes. However, what my goal is to create, because not everybody's at that level of positive thinking, of replacing thoughts, because then you have to go into mantras, meditation, and those are higher level things for some people, right? So for me, I do, right? If I have a negative thought about myself, I then take steps back and I say, okay, is that thought real, right? Where does that come from? And most times that thought comes from a bad experience when I was a kid, or a bad experience somebody else had that they gave to me when I was a kid. Oh, so wow. I'll walk myself back through the process to determine where that thought comes from. Because most times it's fear, right? It's either a fear or an insecurity that I had when I was a kid from somebody bullying me, or a fear or a insecurity that my mother had that she taught me, right? So I walk myself back to find out what is the root of that thought? What is the root of that issue, that feeling, that fear? Then I ask myself, is that real? Yes or no? And a lot of times you'll identify that those fears that you have aren't facts, right? They were a situation that occurred, but it wasn't dangerous. Danger is real. Fear is a feeling that mostly comes from a situation that happened that may have scared you at that time, but it's not an actual fact.
Got it. Okay.
Did it make sense?
No. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. Feelings are not facts.
Feelings are not facts, right? Now they can be guides, right? Your feelings can be guides, especially when you're looking to identify your purpose, your mission, your cause, where you want to be, where you want to go, who you ultimately want to become in life, right? Your feelings can be guides. And as you start to feel bad about something or feel a level of frustration or things like that, that can be a guide, and you can use that to say, okay, I'm not moving towards my purpose, right? And then make a decision to now take steps in the opposite direction and go towards your purpose. But being afraid of public speaking, as an example, right? Being afraid of public speaking, where does that come from? Right? We can walk through steps to identify that, right? So you might have been bullied as a kid. People talked about you or talked about how you sounded. Or like for me as a kid, I couldn't pronounce R's. My R's sounded like W's, or my R's sounded like B's at times. And for a period of time in my life, I was afraid to speak in public. Oh, I'm going to sound funny. Right? And still to this day, I'm still working on some things. Casey and I have had some conversations about me doing YouTube videos, right? But that's the root of that fear for me, right? And I'll never tell you that I'm perfect. I'm still working on a lot of things, man. That process of walking back is, for some people, a higher level process that they may not be able to do right now, okay? Because everybody's at different spaces and everybody's going to receive something different from this message. But a lot of times those fears come from things in your past, right? So as kids, and kind of how this works is, you guys know those childhood toys that had shapes, and you had to take the shape that was outside and find the right shape to put it in, right? To fill that ball. That's kind of how our brains are and our bodies are as infants, right? All the way through adolescence. And those shapes are everybody else's thoughts, fears, issues that they put inside of us, some good, some bad, to help it's their best thought to help create the person that they want us to be. We all got to where we are today with our best thinking. And the people that helped us get here with their best thinking. But those thoughts are those little shapes that they're putting inside of that ball, which is our brain, to help us develop. And some of those fears get transferred on to us. Some of those issues that they didn't address as kids get transferred on to us. And we grow up with some of those same fears, right? Or those get amplified by kids that bully us, or us being, for sake of example, attacked by a dog, right? As a kid, you didn't realize that, hey, I can't touch this dog. Dogs aren't inherently bad per se, but if you do things that cause them fear, they're going to protect themselves, right? So we have to, as people, really look at ourselves and say, okay, what are the fears that I have and where do they come from? Where do they come from? And really think through these things. And these thoughts can be difficult because there may have been some things that are extremely hurtful that happen to each of us as kids. And so going through this process takes time, but it also takes us being willing to be transparent with ourselves and honestly transparent with others also. As we go through, sometimes you might have to have a difficult conversation with someone to rectify an issue that may have occurred, to heal a relationship, right, that's been fractured due to hurts over time. And all of those things, all of those questions, all of those issues, as we start to heal those hurts, we'll start to see and feel differently about where we're going and how we perceive the world. So I'll be transparent with you guys. I'll give you an example. My father passed away in 2005, right? My stepfather and my biological father passed away within 4 months of each other in 2005. Okay. I have 2 younger brothers, a younger sister, and I have 2 older sisters. My younger siblings were really, really young at that time. My brother was the oldest and he was a preteen. And me and my father hadn't spoken for 2 years at the date of his death, right? Because of issues from my childhood. So I was in college at the time, and we hadn't spoken because of issues with my childhood that I wanted to rectify and address with him, my father, but he didn't really want to do that, right? I attempted to have conversations with him. He said, yeah, we'll work on these things. And those things never happened. Those conversations never occurred. So I made a decision as an older teen to just stop talking to him so I can focus on where I wanted to go with my life, right? So get to 2005, passes away. I'm in college. I'm working at basketball camp. I rush home to at least see him because my stepfather had helped walk me through this process to heal from that hurt and to be able to, at least for myself, thank my father and appreciate him for how he raised my younger siblings, right? So I was able to heal that internally, but I never had that conversation with him. So when he passed away, I went to the hospital. It's 3:00 in the morning. I drove 2.5 hours from school to get to the hospital so that I could at least have this conversation with him, even though he was no longer here. That lifted a burden off my back, but I still had some pain to deal with because I hadn't spoken to him in 2 years. 4 months later, my stepfather passes away, who's my best friend. So I'm dealing with a lot of stuff at this time, right? And my younger siblings, they were dealing with their own pain. And as I'm going through this process, I don't go to class for four straight months, right? And I wanted to come home to help my mother cope with my stepfather's death. She said, no, you got to stay there. Her goal was to make sure that I graduated college. That was her goal. That was her whole intention. She didn't want me to mess up any of that. So she didn't want me just to leave school and come home, right? Which ultimately I appreciate her for doing that because it made me grow in a different way. But in her doing that, in that decision being made, I had to cope and grieve differently and by myself. And in that, my sibling's mother wouldn't allow me to speak to my younger sisters. And my younger brother lived with his mother, right? So in this time, I just completely shut the world off so that I could grieve and I could figure out how I would move forward and grow into the man that I needed to be. Okay. So fast forward, my siblings now have issue with me isolating myself. My younger siblings do. And to the point where my brother refuses to even acknowledge my existence because he feels like I abandoned him. So that's a relationship that I have to heal, all based on things that happened in our childhood and young adulthood, right? All of those things play a part in how I process, how I perceive relationships, how I deal with people on a daily basis. But I had to go through this process to look at all of those details and all of those parts to say, okay, this is how I dealt with it, but this also may be how they see it or how my brother sees it, right? And so now I have to go back and heal this relationship with my brother so that that piece of my life, that piece of my experience can fully be healed so that I can move to the next level that I need to move to. And at some point, all of us have something like this. It may not be a sibling, but it may be a friend, it may be a parent, maybe an aunt, maybe an uncle, right? We all have something like, not maybe to this extreme, but some sort of fractured relationship that we may need to go back and heal because there's a portion of us that's broken. And we have to heal that broken piece so that we can truly be the person that we are meant to be in this world. So we can truly have the impact that we are meant to have in this world. Forgiveness is not for the person that you're forgiving. Forgiveness is not for the person that you're forgiving. Forgiveness is for you. Forgiveness is for me. So sorry for the tangent. Didn't mean to go there, but great question, Stephanie. I appreciate you asking that. But yeah, man, we got to walk through these processes and we'll get there on how we can do that over time. Because again, all of who we are, it truly will play out in how we see these markets, how we analyze the charts, how we stick to our rules or not, right? To bring it back to the trading space, like I said at the beginning, mindset is 80% of this whole journey. We can teach you the technicals, we can teach you the fundamentals, but you have to be able to control yourself. You have to be able to dedicate yourself to a process, and you have to be able to identify when you need to make a shift sooner, right? You might not get it at the beginning, but if you can identify it sooner, identify the issue or the misread sooner, you can decrease the number of losses that you have, even though we'll still have them because we can't control it. But we can increase the probability that we get it right. And if we can be 1% better every day, we win. We win. If we can be 1% better every day, we win. That's Mindset Monday. I appreciate you guys.